This is warm up at 200, part of an article called Serial Killers Should Fear This Algorithm. For the record. Threats of federal intervention aside, it will be difficult to fix the problem of high murder rates without first addressing clearance rates. So it's fortuitous, perhaps, that we are living in an age in which the analysis of data is supposed to help us decipher, detect, and predict everything from the results of presidential elections to the performance of baseball players. The data-focused approach to problem solving was brought to life for a lot of people by Michael Lewis's Moneyball, which introduced the non-baseball nerd public to the statistical evaluation of major leaguers and made a hero of Billy Beane, an executive with the Oakland A's. Law enforcement would seem to be a fertile area for data to be helpful. In the 1990s in New York, the New York Police Department famously used data to more shrewdly deploy its officers to where the crimes were, and its CompStat system became the standard for other departments around the country. What Hargrove has managed to do goes a few orders of magnitude beyond that. His innovation was to teach a computer to spot trends in unsolved murders using publicly available information that no one, including anyone in law enforcement, had used before. This makes him, in a manner of speaking, the Billy Beane of murder. His work shines light on a question that's gone unanswered for too long. Why exactly aren't the police getting any better at solving murder? And how can we even dream of reversing any upticks in the homicide rate while so many killers remain out on the streets? It took a few years for Hargrove's editors at Scripps to agree to give him enough time to lose himself in the FBI's homicide data. With help from a University of Missouri grad student, Hargrove first dumped the homicide report into statistics software in 2008. He spent months trying to develop an algorithm that would identify unsolved cases with enough commonalities to suggest the same murderer. Eventually, he decided to reverse engineer the algorithm by testing his ideas against one well-known case, that of Gary Ridgway, the so-called Green River Killer, who confessed to killing 48 women over 2 decades in the Seattle area. Hargrove thought that if he could devise an algorithm that turned up the Green River Killer's victims, he'd know he was on the right track. We found 100 things that didn't work, he recalled. Finally, he settled on 4 characteristics for what's called a cluster analysis: geography, sex, age group, and method of killing. For gender, he stuck with women since they make up the vast majority of multiple murder victims who aren't connected to gang-related activity. When he used women between the ages of 20 and 50, the cohort most commonly targeted by serial killers, the algorithm lit up like a slot machine. It became clear that this thing was working, he says. In fact, it was working too well. The Green River Killer came up right away in this algorithm. That was good news. Hargrove's algorithm also pulled up 77 unsolved murders in Los Angeles, which he learned were attributed to several different killers the police were pursuing, including the so-called Southside Slayer and most recently the Grim Sleeper, and 64 unsolved murders of women in Phoenix. Then there was a second group of possible serial killers, those unrecognized by local police. The whole point of the algorithm was to find the low-hanging fruit, the obvious clusters, Hargrove said, but there were dozens and dozens of them all over the country. In 2015, Scripps spun off the last of its newspapers, and Hargrove and the other print reporters lost their jobs. The only guy who left with a skip was me, he says. Hargrove, who was 59 at the time, had worked at the company for 37 years, qualified for a large severance and nice pension, leaving him well covered. Now he had enough time to go all in on his data project. He founded the Murder Accountability Project, or MAP, a tiny nonprofit seeking to make FBI murder data more widely and easily available. Using Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, requests, MAP has tried to chase down data from the many municipalities and counties that weren't supplying their murder data to the FBI. Out of bureaucratic laziness, a lack of manpower, or perhaps just rank incompetence. MAP has already assembled case details on 638,454 homicides from 1980 through 2014, including 23,219 cases that hadn't been reported to the FBI. This was the most complete list of case-level details of U.S. murders available anywhere, and the group's website has open-sourced all of it. Anyone with statistical analysis software available for free online can start looking across jurisdictions for serial killers. Anyone can compare convicted killers' timelines against the timing of unsolved murders to determine if a connection is plausible. You can call up your hometown and look and see if you see anything suspicious, Hargrove says. If you're the father of a murdered daughter, you can call up her record and you can see if there might be other records that match. We wanted to be able to crowdsource murder. The police have never been great at leveraging the power of their own statistics. Police culture is notably paper-based, scattered, and siloed, and departments aren't always receptive to technological innovation. The National Crime Information Center, NCIC, database gives police access to information such as fugitive warrants, stolen property, and missing persons, but it's not searchable for unsolved killings. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's National Violent Death Reporting System compiles death certificate-based information for homicide victims in 32 states, but again, can't be searched for uncleared cases. Some states have their own homicide databases, but they can't see the data from other states, so linkage blindness persists.